Blessed greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Caribbean Cannabis Channel. Today, we in for a treat. I would say mainly for women, but health is for everyone's benefit. So, even if you are not a woman today, you do have a woman in your life, and so I'm sure that this episode will go a long way. Today, we step in a bit out of the Caribbean. We head into the East, and we have a special guest with us. She's an advocate for women's health, but not just for women's health, but also she's an advocate for how cannabis can be used as an aid for women's health. So help me welcome today Dr. Shaban. And Dr. Shaban, before we actually jump into it, I just want you to share where you are currently situated to the guests.
First of all, hi to all the listeners. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm sitting in Berlin. It's Saturday, around 3 o'clock, and the weather is just perfect.
Lovely. Yeah, so the weather is actually same here in the Turks and Caicos, which I'm currently situated. And before we actually get into the meat of the matter, I recently saw that Germany legalized recreational cannabis. Is that true? And if it is true, what is the reaction from the general population there right now?
Oh, actually, it's not true. So the health minister actually said about the new possible how do you call it, new possible laws if cannabis get legalized. They are waiting for they are waiting actually for EU Commission to say the go. So if the EU Commission is agreed with all the points that they want to have in the like legalization law, and after that they are going to make a draft out of that, and then it's probably gonna take a year. But everyone is so hopeful that in 2024 we're gonna have a legalized and regulated market.
Okay, so it goes to show you that headlines and some articles are very misleading people. So always make sure
It
to
is.
double check your sources. Right, so
No.
getting into the actual platter of this podcast discussion today. I first want to
Mhm.
start off with your journey because we always love to understand where people started from and to reach the point where they are currently today. So when did you really first begin to advocate or become an ally for women's health?
So actually, I see myself more than a herbal medicine advocate for women health than a like woman health advocate, because like I grew up with medicinal plant. I was born and raised in Iran, so we are very much using many different kind of medicinal plants, and I also studied medicinal plants. But I started to get to know actually my body, my reproductive health, and everything around that very late. My in late 20s, when I started my PhD. When I started my PhD, because my research topic was. The traditionally used plants which are helpful for urinary tract infection, and it was for me started to become so interesting why women are more likely to develop urinary tract infection than men, or why menopausal women are more prone to urinary tract infection than menstruating women. And that's really a star that was a like push that I read more, that I understand more, and of course I get to understand the beautiful works of Aviva Ram and Susan Sweet that helped me a lot to um, get a better understanding. But the actually the turning point was to turning point to become a um, activist, not activist, but let's say advocate for that, was when I started the research on cannabis and endometriosis. That was the point that I said, yeah, okay. It's just these topics are so neglected. The knowledge gap is so big, and everybody should know about that.
That is very true, and it's interesting seeing the growth because you started, as you said, with understanding, not just knowing about the medicinal plants and their values, but more from a traditional aspect. And from my readings, I know that Iran and even Germany in previous years sort of have a conservative feel to it. So, in terms of actually beginning your research and incorporating cannabis into that research, what was the response you would have gotten and what really sparked the idea to look into cannabis more?
Actually, I haven't got any negative feedback when it comes to research because luckily in the past decades we got a better understanding of medicinal plants and cannabis, and actually legalizing medicinal cannabis was a huge step. So we talk about from other aspect, we talk about the benefit health, we have the scientific evidences and scientific proof why a plant can help, the mechanism of action, and like that people start to how do you call it, it's like since cannabis gets medically legalized, the aspect of that and the authority of cannabis change a little bit, so people don't look at it as a just a drug for getting for like adult use or habitual use, but they look at it as a medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and that's super interesting, that
Yeah, because it
shift.
is a medicine. It is
Yeah,
definitely a
it
medicine.
is.
Well, it's glad to see that you all are taking that step forward because on this side of the world, we're still, even though it's decriminalized and some countries have it for medicinal use, a lot of doctors, a lot of medical professionals may not necessarily advocate for it, at least on a public level, as a lot of other people may do. So it's very great to see that you all are actually taking that step forward, apart from the legalization aspect, but now
Yeah.
so also incorporating it into the research and actual use for medicinal benefits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what you said is right. Like to clarify the situation, here we still have the stigma. Here there are still a lot of doctors that don't want to prescribe that, don't believe in that. But I think step by step, everything is getting better. For example, I talk about my mom. 10 years ago, you couldn't even say the name of cannabis in front of her. She get all mad and, oh my God, but what are you talking about? But now, actually, when I start to talk with her about, yeah, okay, mom, maybe you should start to use CBD oils, or cannabis extract is good for this and this and this. And she listening, and she tries. So, when my mom changed her mindset that much, so imagine that's actually kind of, you can see the shift is happening in the whole society, and that's an interesting time to be in, to see this shift.
Definitely. I think anybody seeing their parents warm up to the idea of cannabis is growth because a lot of us growing up, we would hear our parents like demonize it or tell us to stay very far away from it, or people that deal with it. So it's great that you were able to actually educate her, and then she is now incorporating it into her actual lifestyle. So that's good. Well, in terms of the actual length though, since you all legalized it for medicinal use, when was that period?
That happened in 2017, and
Okay,
more
recently.
and more, like, exactly, more and more doctors and pharmacies are getting on board. And what I really like that happening in Germany, there are some specialized pharmacies for cannabis. So because cannabis is here, you call it is a compounding drugs. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have the, I mean, except the FDA approved drugs like Epidiolex and so on. Most of the prescriptions are compounding drugs, so it should be finished in the pharmacy. And there's many pharmacies specialized for that, and that's actually that's give much more space to doctors to prescribe that. Also, patients can get very good, like medical quality medical quality cannabis.
Okay, great. So when you say specialized pharmacies, is that different from dispensaries?
It is. It is actually. It's. Yeah, so imagine it's the pharmacy. They have all other drugs, but they also have like a special places and spaces to compound medicinal cannabis.
Oh, great. And do you need a prescription for it, or it's you can get it just like any other
No,
vitamin on the shelf?
no. You definitely need a prescription, and if you want it to be paid by insurance, you have to go a little bit longer way, because the insurance should agree that all the other medications have been tried and it wasn't successful. So, cannabis is like, let's say, kind of last resort.
Oh, okay, okay, that's interesting. Oh, well, I guess seeing as how it's still only medicinally legalized, and it's sort of recent. They're still working out how it will actually be incorporated further beyond that.
Yeah,
So it's a step, and it's a great step because I think persons will be more comfortable walking into a pharmacy opposed to going into a dispensary and these things. So it's a great step. It's a great step, and I think that possibly those who may listen to this, for who are guiding the legislation on our side, could possibly see how they could incorporate an idea to work for us. So that's great.
yeah,
Now,
exactly. That's great, and I think it's a nice way because first it's the how do you call it, the legalization of the medicinal cannabis
mm-hmm,
is an important steps, because first of all people started to trust cannabis as a medicine and as something healthy. And if you go to the pharmacy, there are also, again, as you said, the you have the feeling that, yeah, okay, I'm going somewhere that I know a very high quality high quality drug is coming into my hand, not just anything. And you uh, yeah, I think that that kind of trust building, that's I'm definitely getting a medicine, is much higher when you walk into the pharmacy than a dispensary.
definitely is, and persons, especially now as more education is coming out, people
Yes.
want quality and safe product to consume. So it's better
Mm.
to go to a pharmacy to get that drug for your medicinal purpose. Now, kind of stepping into the actual uses for it, right? So we know that a lot of women suffer with severe discomfort, whether it be from their menstruation, PMS, or even right now we are in Breast Cancer Awareness Month still. So how does cannabis actually assist in alleviating these symptoms that come with this?
Okay, so I first answer your question about the PMS and menstrual problems because each month when women go through this menstrual cycle and their periods, uh, we all have heard that, say, okay, if you have pain, it is normal. What I want to say is that it is common to have pain, but it's not normal. No severe pain
Mm.
is normal. And if you have any kind of pain that's like you have to change your daily routines, you cannot go to work, or you have to take more than three pain tablets per day, that is not something normal. That is something that you should definitely go to a gynecologist and understand what is what's underlying that pain. Because actually pain is, it's like our body is talking with us that something is wrong. So find out what is not functioning. Um, and of course, yes, cannabis can help with many of these symptoms and many of these discomforts. And the reason for that is, as you know, endocannabinoid system is ubiquitous in our body. It's has regulates many different activities in our body. Among them are sleep, regulating temperature, pain control, inflammatory and immune responses. And exogenous cannabinoids like THC and CBD can act on these different mechanism. For example, THC and CBD can bind to different receptors which are responsible for pain. So they can have an analgesic effect, they can reduce the pain. They have anti-inflammatory effects. For example, CBD can block COX-2 enzyme, which exactly NSAIDs, these kind of anti-inflammatory drugs work on. CBD can also reduce the electrical signaling in the muscles, so our muscles get more relaxed and the cramping by menstruation reduced. And as we all know, CBD can also help with anxiety. So all in all, they give they give a nice spectrum of different benefits for a person who goes through different symptoms and different complication in the menstruation period, or before menstruation, PMS. But what I wanted to highlight here, as I said, if the pain is so much that you cannot do your normal or daily routines, there is a problem in that. For example, endometriosis is one of the conditions that it's very much prevalent in women population. 1 in 10 women may have endometriosis, and endometriosis is actually one of the symptoms is very, very painful period. Now it has been shown that endometriosis is some kind of uh, is an endocannabinoid dysregulated or disbalanced disease. Because of that,
Oh,
cannabis can help endometriosis a lot. Cannabis can help endometriosis in different mechanism, and just like imagine a one drug that can exert different medicinal effect, like it's like a multi mechanism and multi target. And for me was like really shocking to see uh, not many doctors and not many women who have endometriosis they know about that. Some of them haven't heard even about endocannabinoid system and how important is endocannabinoid system in the pathogen of the endometriosis. So there are still a huge knowledge gap that should be filled when it comes to medicinal cannabis and woman health generally.
wow, that there's so many things to unpack from what you just said, but one of the main things that you said that I also want to highlight is that if you are receiving severe discomfort, severe pain, it is
Mhm.
a cause for concern, and you definitely need to check it out. Because, again, you said it's not normal, but in my head, I was like, okay, a lot of my friends, family members, etc., talk about the severe pain, talk about taking so many painkillers just to go to work and these different things. So it's amazing and also insightful hearing it from somebody who understands the science behind it, so that persons could now actually say, "Wow, this is serious. Let me look at how I can actually alleviate it." And while you were
Exactly.
talking on how the different cannabinoids actually impact or assist that, you mainly leaned on CBD. So is it that CBD is more beneficial for this type of discomfort, or it's a balance between CBD and THC?
Okay, great question. Thank you that you brought that up. I mean, actually, we don't have very much clinical studies to show that and compare that, but from how do you call it, female reproductive system point of view, I always tend to say uh, younger women, especially the one who want to get pregnant, it's better to use type 3 cannabis flowers, which are the flowers, CBD dominant flowers. Let's put it that way, because there is a very complex interplay between endocannabinoid system and female reproductive and endocrine system. And actually, so I talk a little bit more specific, because, for example, in our in female menstrual cycle, we have four different phases, and one phase, which is like follicular phase, is when estrogen rise. Okay, but by the rise of estrogen, anandamide, which is one endogenous cannabinoid, also rises, and that signaling have a feedback loop. Everything which put this feedback loop away from its balance might affect the fertility, might affect the menstrual cycle, and actually chronic use of THC may have a side effect on that, may have an effect on our fertility, may have an effect on our menstrual cycle, and we should be very cautious uh, when we introduce any kind of herbs, any kind of supplements to our body. I'm not saying that it's you cannot use it, of course, but what I'm saying is that you by every drug that you use, I mean every drug, every supplement. By drug, I'm not just mean cannabis. I mean anything that you want to use for
Mm-hmm.
improve your mental or physical well-being. You should monitor your body. You should monitor your body. You should monitor your hormones to be sure that everything is in a healthy state.
Correct, correct. The complexity of a woman's body is always something to marvel at, because just hearing the different things that could not turn off, but could affect your menstrual cycle and thus your fertility, all these different things. It's something that we all need to take seriously, especially
Mhm.
as more and more persons are talking about infertility issues. At least for men, I think on the side of the world right now, we do have an issue where men are becoming more infertile, and it's due to, as you said, the different drugs that people are taking combined with the foods that we are eating. So all of these things are you should take seriously, and you should see how best the different substances that you are taking works for your body, because what works for you may not necessarily work for the next person. So it's all about
Exactly.
understanding this to better assist yourself.
Exactly, but
Huh?
like for what you said, it's I totally agree. It's very individual, and the beautiful with medicinal cannabis and cannabis is that it's really give you a huge range. I mean, we have different combination of like chemical profiles of different cannabis products, and it could be a really good personalized medicine. You can really choose what works the best with your body and with your condition. It's not always high THC or high CBD. It's something that you should individually try and choose for the best for your body.
Exactly, exactly. And I continuously hope that people who are hearing this would actually take that step forward, because sometimes what's missing is really the information that people need to take the step. So it is my hope that people will actually start to take the step to do so for themselves. Um,
Yeah.
Tying back into one of the questions that I added at the end in terms of breast cancer now. Now, it's
Yes.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and a lot of persons actually say they use cannabis in some shape or form to assist with the symptoms that they may be getting from cancer treatment. How how would you advise persons, or in your own research, have you seen where cannabis has been beneficial for people throughout, whether it be breast cancer or general cancer?
Okay, so yeah, it's breast cancer awareness month, and it's as you know, breast cancer is the second most common cause of death for women, and unfortunately, each year around 2 million new cases. I mean, new woman gets
Oh,
unfortunately breast cancer. The good news is that the advance in breast cancer treatment have significantly reduced the mortality rate, but most of the patients experience side effects from these, like chemotherapies, and the side effects that's really affect their quality of life.
mhm.
Cannabis is reported to help a lot of these symptoms, but what I want to say in the parentheses is that there are a lot of research going on uh, to see if cannabis can actually affect directly the tumor, not the side, just like that, make the tumor
Actual to
smaller or make
myself.
it fade
Mm-hmm.
away. And the results are very varied. I mean, there is a lab in Technion, Dedi Myri's lab. It's in Israel. They did and they are still doing a huge research on that. And it's so interesting to see different cancer cell lines give different response to different cannabis chemovars, because as I told you,
Okay.
cannabis has a very complex chemistry, and for example, if there is one special chemovar which is diminishing one cancer, may help other cancer to even grow bigger, and we should be very careful about that. And but as you said, many people use cannabis to elevate the symptoms of chemotherapy. And there was a 2021 survey. They actually asked breast cancer patients to understand how they use medicinal cannabis and for what they use medicinal cannabis. And more than 78% of the respondents said that they use it for for their pain treatment, insomnia, insomnia 70%, around 60% said that they use it for anxiety, and 50% for nausea and vomiting. So they are all, as you see, they are all the um, how do you call it, side effects or discomforts of chemotherapy, and they try to address that with medicinal cannabis. What was super shocking about this study is that most of these patients, they just took cannabis as as self-management, and just less than 40% of them talk with their physicians about that, and they get their
Mm-hmm.
information from websites and from families and friends, which could be like I was shocked when I read that, because how could be that you are in a treatment and you don't talk with your physician about that, and that could lead to adverse effects. Because again, there was a 2022 study a couple of months ago, this studies was published, that as you know, tamoxifen is one of the drugs that's the most prescribed drugs for breast cancer, and they showed that
Mm-hmm.
actually if you use cannabis with tamoxifen, the anti-proliferation effect, I mean the effect that tamoxifen has on cancer cells, decrease. So all of this stuff is very important
Wow.
to know, to consider. And again, if you are under a treatment and if you want to add something to your therapy, please talk with your physician. And if your physician is not open to talk about medicinal cannabis, then find another physician who is open.
I couldn't agree more with that statement that you really and truly should talk with your physician if you are already on some type of medication and you want to
Yes.
incorporate another, because it can have an adverse effect. And there are a lot of people, even in the cannabis community, who may think that cannabis can do no wrong. And it's not necessarily that it can't do no wrong, but you need to understand how the different chemical compounds within the substance can affect with what you already have inside of you. So, hearing all of this, it's always amazing to learn new information, so that I could pass it on to people who may not be the wiser. So, it's very important for each and everyone, for those of you who are taking treatment for cancer, to discuss with your physician should you believe that the medication that you are on isn't working, or you need some more assistance to get rid of the pain or the insomnia that you may be experiencing. So that's very important, and thanks for making that a clear point to the listeners.
Yeah, and
Right?
like another interesting point to add is that what you said, ask your physician, and more than 50% of the respondents of this survey, they believe that medicinal cannabis should be a treatment for like side effect of chemotherapy and side effect of cancer. So yeah, the citizen science is out there. There is a huge pile of anecdotes, surveys that shows cannabis can positively affect the quality of life. So why not talk openly with your physicians, show them these studies, talk with them, push them actually, because they are your physicians. They should listen to you, and they should also prescribe the best for your body. It's like we shouldn't let that stigma get get in the way of our well-being and health.
Exactly. Couldn't support that statement more. So as we sort of, I wanted to type of switch into your
Mhm.
professional aspect outside of the medicinal cannabis. 'Cause I see that you would have created a company called Lela, if I'm pronouncing it
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
L- Liar.
Yes, exactly.
Right, liar. So what was the thought process, or what evoked you to decide to switch your medicinal cannabis knowledge into actually creating a company with products for persons?
So, as I said, I it's I started to work in cannabis industry now for almost 3 years, and I've been working in a cannabis extraction facility. Like there in Berlin, there is a cannabis
Okay.
extraction company, Becanex. I was working there, and we did extract. CBD flowers. Like we did extract cannabis, like type 3 cannabis. And what was interesting is that the CBD oil that we had helped many women inside that company for our menstruation pains. And
Wow.
one of our colleagues, she had endometriosis, that our CBD oil helped her a lot. And I come from Iran, so that was one part of the story. The other part of the story is that yeah, I also knew. other herbs which could be beneficial for women health, especially saffron. Because, for example, my evening routine was that make myself saffron tea and put some drop of our CBD oil in that. And then I was talking with one of my colleagues. She is now the co-founder and my business partner, Ancha. And I said, okay, we should do that. We should do something which is specifically for women. We can also use the healing power of other plants. I mean, of course, cannabis is our healer queen, stays our healer queen, but we can use another herb to push that and develop different solutions for different phases of female life. I mean, menstruation, menopause, also a little bit with a look to sexual well-being, because uh, plants can help us a lot. And yeah, for why not using them to be the best version of ourselves?
Awesome. I couldn't support that more. And it's funny seeing that saffron tea is also used on the next side of the world, because saffron tea is like a magical elixir. Our parents always told us to drink saffron tea. Your grandparents tell you to drink saffron tea. So it's funny hearing another part of the world the same is being done. And in
Yes.
terms of the name of Lila, what does the name actually mean?
Okay, the name Laya is I love that name. First of all, because it's many different cultures and many different languages has this name, and
Mm-hmm.
Laya means a woman that can speak articulately. As we wanted to push the
Oh.
female health movement, and actually at the moment we are combining two taboos around cannabis and taboos around woman health, that the topics that you don't talk about. And then we thought, okay, we need a strong woman with a strong opinion that can speak articulately and push this movement.
Mm.
And that's why yeah, that's where the name is coming.
That's a great name. That's a great name.
Yeah.
It's one word, but it's one word that has a whole meaning, a
It's,
whole sentence, whole phrase behind it. So it's a powerful word. Thanks for sharing that the meaning with us.
of course.
Uh, and and in terms of actually starting the company, what was some of the feedback you received using it? Apart from the women who were in the facility, how has the feedback been on the ground regarding the products?
Oh, honestly, the feedback couldn't be better. Many women that come to our shops or see our activities in Instagram, or we talk with them when we go to different events, they are so happy that a business like this exists, not just because of the products, but for the dissemination of knowledge. When they hear first time about endocannabinoid system and how this system is important, the health of endocannabinoid system is important for our reproductive system, for our general well-being, it's like you see the shine in their eyes. I tell you one funny story. We were at the yoga festival, and we wanted to promote our products. And one gynecologist came to me. She came to me very skeptical, with like a very like, ah, yeah, what are you selling? Are you selling a snake oil? Because you said it's good for anxiety, it's also good for pain. But what could it even be? And then I started to explain her, hey, we have an endocannabinoid system in our body, is like in mycelium, is really responsible for everything in our body. And then when they add the stuffs together, they say, yeah, okay, if one compound can affect this system, of course it could have many different therapeutic properties, because actually endocannabinoid, the dysregulation of endocannabinoid system is the cause of many pains and many diseases. So like
Wow.
it's amazing. It's amazing to talk with people. That positive feedback is actually what pushes us forward.
And I'm seeing the positive impact it has on you, because you have not stopped smiling at all with talking about the product.
Yes.
So I can
Oh,
see that you are seeing the impact on people's life. And that's what we
yeah,
do this for. We do this because it has a positive impact on people, and we see how
exactly.
it has impacted us positively. So we want to share that love and that joy with others. So I'm glad that you are enjoying it. There's positive feedback on the ground, and hopefully soon, Lila's products will be on a shelf on our side of the world, you know.
Hopefully, hopefully. And you know what? I love what you said because actually, the stories that we tell about a topic is what makes the culture around the topic. If you start from, there is one professor that I like a lot, Professor Carl Hart. He wrote a book about the adult use of drugs, and he has a very nice analogy. He says that, yeah, okay, imagine the car industry. If everything that you advertise and say about cars is just car crashes, nobody gonna buy a car anyway. But cars also helps us a lot. They move us from A to B very fast. They make our life much more easier. They improve our life. It's exactly it's exactly the type of conversation that we have around drugs. Everything we talk about drugs is addiction, is we actually never talk positively about the drugs and how they can influence our well-being, influence our physical and psycho-emotional well-being, and more positive stories, scientifically backed up positive stories. We tell, we help to shift that culture, shift it from a stigma to something acceptable, which should be. I mean, if you use drugs like in consciously and cautiously, of course they can help us in many aspects of our lives.
And those two words, important words, consciously and cautiously, it's very
Yes.
important. And I also understood that as I began to learn more about not just cannabis, but just drugs on the whole, and to see how once it is used both cautiously and consciously, how it can be an aid for our lives. And this is why we have discussions like this, so that we can talk positively about something that has assisted not just us, but so many different women and men alike. And
Yes.
I wish we could continue talking for extended period of time, but as always, you're always limited for time and discussion. But it doesn't end here, obviously. Obviously, we will continue to have more discussions surrounding the topic and
I would
expanding
be
it.
more than
But
happy to join.
thank you, thank you. So we're more than likely to have you again in the future. But as we
Thanks.
wind up the conversation right now, we always love to ask some questions so that our listeners can get a feel for our guests outside of their professional lives. So regarding your favorite hobby when you are not being Dr. Shabnam, what do you do to in your spare time for enjoyment?
Oh, actually, I love cooking and I love eating. So that's I really like. I mean, eating good food and cooking fusion kitchens and recipe. That's what I love. And of course, beside that,
And if you were to pick one of the favorite foods that you cooked, or a favorite book, what are those two? What is that one food, and what is that one book? Zerish Polo. Okay, 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 great. I'll have to take a look at the meal Zerish Polo, and you say the name of the book again for me. Lovely. So I'll take a read at that, and if I definitely would read it and get the chance to, and also I like trying new foods as well. So sometimes I might just be looking for foods that has nothing close to what I'm doing. So I would definitely look up the recipe for that, or you can send me your recipe of how you do it, and I will try it. Yeah, you send me the recipe. Okay, lovely. So I will look forward to that, and we will give that a try. So, Dr. Shabnam, it has been a great pleasure. I've enjoyed this conversation so much because it's as you said, we are combining two taboos. One, a lot of people don't speak about women's health, and we don't have enough people speaking about cannabis as yet. So, combining these two taboos, it has been a phenomenal conversation, engaging, educational, and you've been a bundle of joy. I'm seeing the passion that you are speaking with, and that passion is flowing into me as well to continue to do what I'm doing. Right? Exactly, exactly. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So before we close, how can people find more about your work or learn more about Lila's products? How can they reach out to you? Mm-hmm. Definitely, I appreciate that. So, my people, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Caribbean Cannabis Channel. And again, before you leave, remember to both cautiously and consciously use cannabis, but also learn about it to see how it can benefit you. Thank you.